This is a nickel roundlet corkscrew made towards the end of the 19th century. And the roundlet corkscrew is a wonderful design, and like most wonderful designs, it's very simple but very practical. So basically we have a barrel shape here with no protrusions, so very easy to carry in your pocket. You're not going to get the helix of a corkscrew causing any damage because it's contained within this barrel. And to use the corkscrew, we simply undo one half, pull out the helix or the worm, which has got a square section to the end of its barrel here. This turns up, fits into a square section on the corkscrew, screw the other half back in place, and there you have your corkscrew with a pull. So a very simple, clever, but very effective design. This one is interesting because it's also stamped plum just to the barrel there. Hopefully you can see that. Now, I would suggest that that stamp of plum is for a maker rather than an owner. If it was an owner, I would expect the name more likely to be engraved rather than stamped. Having a stamp suggests that you were marking lots of similar items. So the roundlet corkscrew, where did the design come from? Where did it originate from? Well, it probably originated from the 18th century corkscrew, which has got the nickname the Beau Brummel. Quite rare corkscrews to find now. But the difference in them is that a Beau Brummel has got the split along the length of the barrel, and then the two halves separate rather than the split being in the middle of the barrel. Now, several different companies patented and modified and registered the design for the roundlet. We know in 1855, Lund, who of course were famous for corkscrews but also made boxes and dressing boxes, they issued a patent in 1855 for their roundlet. But we also had a roundlet corkscrew which was engraved for a Major Everard of the Royal Dragoons. Well, Benjamin Everard purchased his majority in the Royal Dragoons in 1830. So there's very likely that he also got his roundlet corkscrew before 1855 when Lund patented their design. Certainly by 1854, Benjamin Everard is no longer in the army lists and likely to have retired from the Royal Dragoons. But later in 1873, 16th of January 1873 to be precise, George Wright and Charles Bailey also registered a design for a roundlet corkscrew. You do find them made in silver. Roundlets were made in a number of different materials. Certainly by the 20th century, the design lasted well into the 20th century. And in the 20th century, you're more likely to find them made of brass, but you also find them made of celluloid. You find wooden ones as well. So a little bit of diversity there. And of course, the roundlet corkscrew developed on into the roundlet multi-tool. And this is a roundlet multi-tool, and you can see it is made of brass. It's going to be early 20th century. Dismantles in much the same way. The difference being that you don't have a corkscrew which is hinged to the barrel and then folds to lock into place. You have a series of individual tools which then slot into the barrel to be fixed into place for use. And with this one, we've got a corkscrew. You can see the design of a corkscrew with more of a blade to the helix is a later design, but we've also got an awl there. What else have we got here? Typically you will have a screwdriver. So yep, there's a screwdriver. There's a little bradawl for making holes, and we've even got some tweezers which you would use separately. So the Roundlet, very practical design. Lots of companies made roundlets as multi-tools well into the 20th century, and a very useful bit of kit for travel. So this brass one is going to be early 20th century. It's got several tools in it. And this nickel one by Plum, which is simply a corkscrew, is going to be late 19th century in date.